welcome to the Checkpoint. I'm your presenter, Famara Kanyi. Well, on Checkpoint tonight, we'll be having Honorable Omar Jallow, Gambia's Agriculture Minister, who once held the position during the First Republic and is a staunch supporter of the PPP party. For more on this interview, you can follow Abdullah C.
Honorable Omar A. Jallow, Minister of Agriculture, welcome to the Checkpoint.
Thank you very much, Mr. C. Welcome to the Minister of Agriculture, and we are happy that you have time to come to interview us here.
Thank you very much. We start with the trade season, the last groundnut trade season. The National Assembly said it was a total failure. What is your take?
Well, it's unfortunate that I heard it on the radio and in the news, and I read it in the newspapers, that some of the members of parliament who are saying it, unfortunately, I will not blame them because they are new. If they had known how much groundnut was bought in the last 6-7 years and what is bought this year, they would have been very careful in some of the statements that they make. For the last 6-7 years, Gambia has never bought, in the first month of the trade season, more than 300 tons. This year alone, because of the new policy of the new dispensation, the new government, we were able to buy 4,234 tons in December alone, when in the previous years, the first month of the trade season, we have never bought more than 300 tons.
So why do you think they said it was a failure?
That's right. They said it was a failure because, unfortunately for them, not being properly informed, in the last seasons, the Chinese and the Indians were the ones who were very prominent in buying nuts in Gambia, because then the cooperatives have disappeared, government was not participating effectively, and the price was not as competitive as it is today. Therefore, some peanut buyers, private people who are not agents to the GGC, were buying on their own without the approval of the GGC.
That is the past years.
No, this year. That is why the nuts are still with them, because the GGC as the main buying agent, because now cooperative is no longer around. Yaya Jammeh dismantled cooperative, and there is no farmers institution now that is dealing with the farming community of the Gambia. So because of that, some of them were keeping their nuts, thinking that the Chinese and the Indians will come again. Unfortunately, this year they didn't turn up.
Why didn't you
so they were keeping their nuts, not selling it.
Why didn't you communicate that?
No, but
that is your ministry.
But the farmers should know, they know better than that. We have already made a statement on the radio that we have, for the first time in 17 years, have put the price of nuts this year very competitive with Senegal. And during my time here, during the First Republic,
yes,
most of the...
We'll go to that. Let me clarify this.
I want the members of parliament to be educated. I think they don't know, and they need to know. And I have a responsibility to tell them what has happened until the nuts are, some of the nuts are here.
Yeah,
because if the GGC has agents, somebody goes and buys who's not an agent, and wants the GGC to give that man priority over his agents, when that person was first and foremost an agent to an Indian or a Chinese before. And fortunately for Gambia, the IDB are the financiers of our trade season. Because of the past 5-6 years, the amount of nuts
what is the arrangement?
That's the
financial arrangement
that we buy.
Is it a loan?
They gave us a loan of 13.8 million because they thought we were going to buy the same number of nuts. Because the last trade in 2016.
Is that different from the 17.5 million?
The 17.5 million, 13.5 is for the GGC, for groundnuts. 500,000 is for seeds. And then the other is for fertilizer, to buy fertilizer for the farming season. It is not all for buying nuts. But unfortunately, because they thought that in 2015, 2016, the whole national tonnage was not more than 3,000. This year, we have bought so far nearly 40,000 tons. So the IDB, the funds exhausted. We negotiated for additional funds. They have given an additional 3.8. But unfortunately, the Ministry of Finance is the link ministry to the IDB. That is why presently the GC management are trying to have a bridge agreement with a local banking institution for us to have funds, because the minister and all the staff of the Ministry of Finance are not here to make sure they follow up this.
So you mean
that's what I'm saying.
There were not enough funds?
There were not enough funds for this season because they thought.
Who thought? Who are they?
The IDB, because they are the
But I think
finances.
the IDB takes cue from you, the ministry on the ground.
No. The IDB takes cue from the data that is available to them.
Who gives
from
them
previous
the data?
years. We give them the data because unfortunately, the data that was available to them, the last previous data, were all that we cannot buy more than 3,000 tons in the year.
So that's responsible for what the National Assembly calls a total
failure. But for us, because we are responsible, we've already started negotiation with the IDB for additional funds. But it is a process, and it's approved. They have approved an additional $3.5 million US. And already, fortunately, because of the success of the responsibility of the management of the GC, they have even gone to negotiate with local farms, because the Minister of Finance traveled and most of the senior members of the Ministry of Finance is not there. For them to finalize the negotiation with the IDB, he has now gone for bridge financing from the local farm to buy all the nuts that are already in the hands of farmers.
Okay, we move ahead. The Maputo and Malabo declarations recommend African countries to commit 10% of their budget to agriculture. Is that being honored by the government? For
the first time, it is honored this year when we present the budget as the new government. But for the Maputo declaration, since it was made, only 4 countries in Africa respected it. Unfortunately, we all know that Africa, we are good at making agreements and declarations, but we never respect them.
This government is honoring that commitment.
This year, they have put 10% of the budget for agriculture.
Let's do some maths. The national budget, that is the revenue and grant, is expected to be 19 billion plus. 10% of that is roughly $2 billion.
That's right.
If $2 billion is invested into agriculture, plus the other money that is coming from partners, where do you think agriculture is going to be in the next 5 years?
That's why I think if you go to the National Development Plan, particularly the sectoral areas where agriculture is confirmed, you will see that we are really geared towards the transformation of agriculture. And you can only transform agriculture if you modernize it. Go to mechanization. Go to processing.
Has that been tried
packaging.
before? Has that been tried
It
before?
has never. It was started before in the First Republic.
And what
happened? But unfortunately, when the Second Republic came, because it's a process, you don't get a child to be born today and start working and start running. We have to learn from good practices. That is why we built that big processing plant and periphery in Kuntaur. And it was processing 10 to 20 tons of rice every day. We built the ginnery in Basse, and we were exporting the best quality cotton next to Mali in West Africa. But in the last 22 years, all these things are no longer functioning. The Jahari Pachar and the rice projects were producing 42% of the needs of the Gambian people. But now, in 2016, Abdou Koli, the Minister of Finance under the Jammeh regime, went to Parliament and said we are now producing only 15% of our rice needs. So that means the revitalization of agriculture is an urgency. That is why we are not only going now to develop, although we will assist them, the smallholder farmers, but we want to go into private-public partnerships, whereby private people can come and invest, because we are using only 37% of our arable land in Gambia. So there is a lot of land that is not being used. And we want to now make sure we create the conducive environment for people to come and invest. Secondly, we are emphasizing under the new dispensation diversification of agriculture. As much as we want to emphasize rice production, to be rice self-sufficient and food security, we want to go in for groundnuts as the main produce and the main export.
But
now,
do we have the Agric structure to help farmers implement all these things that you're talking about?
Oh, yes.
For example, let me give you some statistics. The extension farmer ratio in the Gambia is roughly 2,000 to 2,500. One extension worker to 2,000 to 2,500 farmers. How do you think that?
No, it will be. I said there were a lot of mistakes from the last government.
Yeah, but
you know, I was
to
shocked.
say everything
that
went wrong was during the time of the former government.
Yes, I was shocked that when I came back here, none of our mixed farming centers were operational. And the mixed farming centers are the centers of excellence to be in direct touch with the farmer for the knowledge transfer and technological transfer. And 45% of our best trained agriculturists were either in prison or were dismissed.
But I tried to say during the past 20 years, agriculture died.
Virtually.
The FAO, 2 or 3 years ago, gave the government an award for doing very well in agriculture.
In which areas?
In food security.
Like what? How much food was produced?
All the things that we are saying are not working are
That's
the
right.
areas that they commended the
Yes.
government.
They have given the wrong data.
They are based here.
You were here during the First Republic. And today you go to Central River Division, particularly in the Jahali Pachar area. You see how much land at that time in the First Republic
so the
was
FAO
under cultivation.
The FAO got it wrong.
They got it wrong because we have to understand that some of these international organizations also are politicized. We have to accept that. It's a fact. They got it all wrong. Because if food self-sufficiency, food production, particularly rice, has dropped from 42% in 1993 to 15% in 2015, and you gave them an honor, then why is it? When I was Minister of Agriculture here, we were exporting 90 tons of horticultural produce every Thursday to London through a cargo plane. That government came, gave the Radville Farm Management 72 hours to leave the country. They have settled in Ghana. And they were dealing with over 150,000 women.
I'm coming to that. I'm coming to this private farm.
Farm business, contract farming.
Yes, there is this assumption or allegation that they don't pay their workers well. They pay them less than what they deserve. 2, they use chemicals that are banned, and they don't care for the health of their workers.
Unfortunately, we are not a police institution.
Yeah, but do you experience that? Have you ever received complaints?
I have never. This is my first time of receiving this complaint. And I think Gambians should be aware that there is a Department of Labor where all laborers or workers who have complaints should go and complain. That is, this is simple.
As Ministry of Agriculture, do you have strategy in place to avoid such?
We don't have a strategy in place because that is in the domain of another ministry. What we are doing is to improve agriculture, revitalize agriculture, and make sure agriculture takes its rightful place in the socio-economic development of this country. But for Gambians, as workers, not only in agriculture, in all other sectors, if they are not satisfied with the conditions of employment or the conditions with which they are working, they have a right to go and complain to the Department of Labor, under whose purview the law has given them powers to make sure they intervene and make sure Gambian workers are treated not only fairly, but justly and respectfully.
Okay, good. We'll come back to that. But you don't think the ministry, like in other countries, the Ministry of Agriculture or any other ministry has the responsibility to make sure that its sector conforms with the law? For example, these banned chemicals, I'm telling you, DDT.
That's right.
Do you have any way of monitoring these private farms?
We have, our department has institutions, the ministry have institutions. Particularly there is the MNARI, National Research Institute, that looks into the quality of the type of seeds, the type of products that we produce. There is the Seed Secretariat that looks about the seeds and all those things. There is unfortunately, Gambia had one of the best department of crop protection, which deals with these pesticides and insecticides that talk about. And then 2 of our department heads were so successful that internationally one was taken to be the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations while in The other one was taken to the FAO as a regional director, Sol Mbuub. But unfortunately, no wait. Unfortunately, this department was abolished by Jammeh. Can you imagine? Department of Crop Protection is to the crops what the RVTH is to me and you. If you don't have a crop protection department to make sure they supervise, monitor the crop, these things that are coming into this country, how can we? Now that is why I've gone to cabinet, and cabinet has approved, and the process is on for the re-establishment of the Department of Crop Protection for the protection of the farmers and the farmers' crops. This doesn't exist anymore.
Okay, is it true the Central River region and the Upper River region have no agri directors for livestock?
That's right. Yeah. Because most of them were sacked and they left and got other international jobs. Yeah, but the Gambia has the biggest attrition rate when it comes to professionalism. Yeah, that is why in all the
in the 1 year that you've been in power, it's like, what are you doing? Because
we are trying to
decentralization system doesn't work.
We have got everything. We are establishing and renovating and building the mixed farming centers again. We have completed 6 within 1 year. We are now dealing with 7 because it's all 27. And indeed, this farming center, as I said, is the center of excellence. You have veterinary livestock services. You will have extension workers. You have research workers. You have crop protection workers. They work together directly with the farmer and then transfer knowledge. This was not existing anymore in the last 22 years. You cannot expect, with all the other challenges, for us to be able to do all these things in 12 months. We're trying our best.
You're trying. Yes. Now, in the Upper River region and the Central River region, based on statistics, the National Animal Census have more livestock than
anywhere.
Yeah. But farmers are complaining. They don't have grazing lands and they don't have enough water for their animals. Some do cross to Senegal, thereby making the Gambia to lose manure. When they move, they settle in those areas. The manure goes there. Milk too. How are you going to change that?
You know,
the water aspect, the practical aspect, getting
the practical aspect, water, we are tackling it. Because now we are in contact with the National Livestock Owners Association to identify grazing areas where we'll build water points for them, for the grazing of the land. But we have come and realized that there is a serious conflict between farmers and grazers. One, the population of the herds are growing, whilst there is a serious intrusion by people in grazing areas, making farms there and building villages. That is why we have appealed to the Ministry of Local Government and Land so that we can come out with a land development policy whereby some areas should be identified as grazing areas and we should not allow any settlement or farmers to intrude. This has become a serious conflict.
How far?
Yes, we are working on it because these are policies that would be pursued and we have to go to cabinet, go to parliament for them to be adopted and make law.
Yeah, that's a long-term plan. Any shortcut?
Any shortcut? We are now trying to, we have a project that FASDEP, NEMA, AVLP, all of them, we have now said they should discuss with the Livestock Owners Association, let them identify areas where we build them big boreholes, big tanks, and then troughs for watering, so that the cattle, the sheep, the goats can go there as their watering points.
What is your response to people who are saying that the Ministry of Agriculture or the agri sector has too many projects?
I agree with them.
You agree?
I agree with them.
Have too many.
That is why when I came here, I said as long as I'm here, there will be no more new project. And there will be no more again a project stationed in the Greater Banjul area.
And too many associations.
When I was here, all my project managers were in Sapo, in Junoy, in Basse. Why should a project manager be in Abuko or in Bakau? I said it. I said during our time, Seni Dabo, who was the manager of the World Bank project, was based in Sapo. Sidi Jaju was based in Sapo. Alfu Marong was based in Dankunku. Others were based in Basse. But I couldn't understand that now that all the projects of agriculture, their project managements are based in the Greater Banjul area. That's wrong, because the amount of funds that are being spent for the maintenance of this management sector, the amount of vehicles, the amount of fuel that they have to drive up to Sapo just to go and supervise a project under them whilst they are based in Abuko is wrong. That's why I accept it. Great. And I said I will try to make sure. That's why I've taken a consultant in the person of Sambu Kinte, who is one of the most experienced agriculturists in Gambia. He was a permanent secretary here, to try to help us recommend and prepare a proposal where we should centralize the operations of agriculture. There are two projects, there are two organizations, there are two institutions trying to serve the same farmer. And in the process, most of the funds that should go direct to the farmer are spent in paying the management of these institutions, which is wrong.
Good. In the Gambia, farming is mostly associated with poverty. When is that going to change?
That's what we're trying to do. That's why I say we are trying to transform farming and trying to modernize it.
Do you have a timeline?
You cannot modernize farming without building the food chain. The food chain is from production to marketing. And then that process of factory processing, packaging, and marketing, the process will also create opportunities for young people. But that we cannot only depend on the smallholder farming. That's why we are now trying to create the conducive environment and encourage private investors to come and invest in agriculture and make agriculture commercially viable.
Okay, let's go to this commercial farming thing. There is this rumor that the World Bank, which is behind the commercial agriculture value chain management project, is not happy with its implementation. Is that true?
Yes, they have made a concept, but all these projects started.
Why are they on?
All these projects started long before this new government.
Yes, but what are the issues?
That is why now the issues are implementation. The process is slow. The percentage of implementation.
It's been slow since it started.
Because some of them started in 2014, some 2015. And now we have set up a team to make sure we study what are the deficiencies, what are the challenges, what are the problems, and we start to address them. There was a team here recently that came and we discussed the World Bank, the IFAD, FAO, and the ministry, so that we can have a holistic approach to all these issues. Because we are all talking about the same target groups. That's the farmers of the Gambia. So I couldn't see how we can operate from different areas. There's so much of conflict. That's why I said we have to rationalize the operation of all these projects. We cannot have projects that look as if they are independent of the government institutions, where there is no proper supervision and monitoring. This has to stop. This is what we inherited. Because at that time, there was no system. There was only one person running a whole state. He does what he wants. Nobody have a right or has the guts to question.
Yes, but do you recognize or realize that this principle of continuity in government, like when we keep blaming the former government for all our problems, we now inherited a system?
No, but you asked a question. Yes. We have to tell you why those projects were delayed.
Now, do you think depending on World Bank sponsored projects is the way to go? Because if you look at a big country like China, it's feeding its people without anything from World Bank.
Yeah, if you know, there is a lot of things that we have to handle as sovereign states. There are some conditionalities in the World Bank conditions.
Yeah, but
that is not accepted for me. Yes. You can ask the people when we went for this Dakar meeting, when I was making my statement, one of the things I raised before I closed my statement was that the World Bank should stop telling African governments not to subsidize their farmers. When the EU is subsidizing their farmers by 42%, America is subsidizing their farmers by 60%.
Yeah, and you still
why
go to the World Bank.
That's what I'm saying. But depending on us agreeing to their conditions, why should we? That's the question.
And
from now on, when we are for me, I don't agree. I will go and hustle. I will go and negotiate and bring anything that I think will promote agriculture in Gambia, irrespective of whether, but I'll give it to the farmer free of charge. Or I'll give it to the farmer as required so that he or she can be self-sufficient and can take care of him or herself.
Okay. Fertilizer, what plans? to help farmers get
Yes.
more fertilizer?
We have, the last year the fertilizer was late, but this year
Why was it delayed?
because one, the impasse made the IDB and all institutions to freeze their funds to Gambia. So by the time the impasse was finished, it was by February.
And then it seems anything or everything about agriculture is based on outside support.
That's what I'm saying.
When are you going to look inward?
We are because it was a grant, it is a loan, and any loan given to you is inward because we pay for it from your sweat and my sweat and the farmer's sweat, and everybody takes a loan. China takes a loan, America takes a loan. There is no country in the world that is not indebted, so Gambia will be no exception.
Yeah,
there is no country in the world that is not indebted. That is what I'm saying. We negotiate loans to buy these things. When we are ready, we pay. So this time we will make sure, and already we have given the contract, and the fertilizer will be here before end of April, so that by May all farmers will have got their fertilizer and their seeds and be prepared for the rainy season.
Good. A little bit of politics. Where do you stand? You as head of the PPP on this 3-year arrangement.
For me, everybody knows that I always believe in what I agreed with my colleagues.
What was that agreement?
3 years. And I have never hesitated to say that as responsible leaders, when we sit and negotiated for that 3 years and signed it and agreed on it and went round campaigning for it, unfortunately, I was one of the few who went with the President Adam Barrow to campaign from Katong to Koinam, from Pasimas to Bara. And wherever we stood and talked to the Gambian people, we talked about the 3 years. I understand that the Constitution said 5 years, but there is no Constitution that is written in stone. I am saying, even as responsible leaders of the coalition, if we agreed on 3 years, and there is some among us who want 5 years, the best thing is for the executive committee of the coalition to meet, and we have a thorough discussion on this, so that we can hear both pros and cons.
Is the committee still active?
It should be active because that is the agreement. It's not. That is why I'm saying, as OJ, as leader of the PPP, my contract with the Gambian people is for 3 years.
After 3 years?
It's my decision to leave.
Are you going to leave?
Of course.
After 3 years?
Yes.
You will resign as
Fortunately,
minister.
people should understand me.
Can we get this right? After 3 years, you're going to resign?
Of course. If we don't meet as an executive and decide collectively on what to do, then for me, I still believe in my 3 years because that's my contract. And we have not sat to discuss any change of the 3 years anywhere as responsible leaders.
Honorable Amadou A. Jallow, Minister for Agriculture, thank you very much for being on the checkpoint.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.